Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD, General Physician. All my video lectures are mainly for educative purpose. This lecture will be very helpful to the person who are in fourth year. Also, it may be helpful to first year students or also to the person who are appearing for exams. And it may be asked in your oral as well as in your theory. Today we are going to discuss regarding one of the very important topic which can be asked as a full question, can be asked in your oral also. And also it will be helpful when you go for your private practice or even in internship. That is pulmonary function test. Yes, basically spirometry and peak flow rate are the main important test which will give you a lot of idea regarding pulmonary functions or we call lung functions. Routinely, we'll be discussing under introduction, indications, contraindications, how you do spirometry and how you read, how you interpret. Now we know very well thermometer is an instrument to measure the body temperature. These are all the different varieties of thermometer. This is digital, this is mercury, this is temporal, this is tympanic. Sphygmomanometer is to measure the blood pressure. So to measure the fever, you have got an instrument. To measure the blood pressure, you have got the instrument. To measure the heart function, one of the tests is ECG. To measure the pulse, you can measure clinically or you can use the instrument pulse oximeter. And for lung, we have got spirometry, where you get a volume to a flow chart. This is volume, this is a flow chart, and here it is expiratory phase, inspiratory phase. We call volume loop chart. Basically, the function of the lung is to inhale and exhale, and during that process, carbon dioxide and water is thrown out and oxygen is taken inside. So there is an exchange between oxygen and carbon dioxide at the level of alveolar capillary level. And this particular takes part in acid-base balance. Also there is a production of a mucus which does not allow the foreign particle to go to alveoli. So basic function is exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide takes part in acid-base balance. These are the different volumes which you can study in physiology: total lung capacity, vital capacity, reserved volume, inspiratory capacity, forced reserve capacity, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume. This is minimal. This must be tidal volume. This is expiratory reserve volume. So you can do study of this in a physiology side. different volumes. This is inspiratory reserved volume. This is total lung capacity. This is tidal volume. This is inspiratory capacity. This is vital capacity. This is expiratory reserved volume. This is residual volume. This is maximum voluntary expiration. This is functional reserved capacity. Yes, we'll be talking more about volume time curve and flow volume loop. Now these two you get by doing spirometry. When you do a spirometry, you will get two curves. One is volume time curve and second is flow volume loop. And you can do the study of lung function by interpreting those. We'll be dealing in detail as we go through. So there is a term, prescribing a bronchodilator in a person who is having dyspnea without measuring a person's force expiratory volume in first second is like prescribing an antihypertensive without measuring a blood pressure or prescribing an antipyretic without measuring a temperature. It is absolutely wrong. You should do a good study, that is PFT, should be done properly, and then you should prescribe bronchodilators. Pulmonary function test will include spirometry and peak flow rate. Lung volumes can be studied by plethysmography. Blood gas can be studied by ABG, which is one part of lung function test. Diffusion capacity can be done by DLCO. And there is another test called exercise testing, which can also give you a pulmonary function. And then while doing a spirometry, depending upon the reading interpretation, you can go for a bronchial challenge test or a provocation test. These are mainly done when you are suspecting a bronchial asthma with normal report. So whenever you do a study and you are suspecting a bronchial asthma, and if the report is normal, you can go for a provocation test. And if there is a report which is giving you that there is an obstructive element and you want to find out whether it is reversible or not, you go for a bronchodilator test and do a repeat test after bronchodilators. So you call as a provocation test or bronchodilator test. And roughly you can do indirect way of a gas study, that is oxygen level by pulse oximetry, which is a rough technique. Mainly spirometry and peak flow rate are the two main important tests which we are going to discuss. VQ scan is ventilatory coefficient scan, which is again gives you a pulmonary function but not routinely being done, costly, and it requires a special facilities to do that VQ scan. It is done in a selective center we call mostly cosmopolitan hospitals. So there are large number of different modes spirometry which can give you flow volume loops. It will also give you volume time curve. You can do a lung volume study by plethysmography, diffusion capacity by DLCO, ABG, airway resistance study. There are inspiratory, expiratory muscle pressure studies, airway reactivity by doing a challenge test, cardiopulmonary exercise test, that is impedance oscillometry, airway resistance test, multiple breath washed out, here A is missing. VQ scan, that is ventilatory perfusion or coefficient scan. As far as other tests are concerned, they are not included in lung function test, but this test will help you to find out the lung pathophysiology like X-ray chest, CT, MRI, HRCT, CT angio, MRI angio, lab study like CBC, D-dimer, sputum, cytology, biopsy, bronchoscopy, bronchography, fine needle biopsy, bronchoalveolar lavage, thoracocentesis, fluid analysis, radio imaging like PET MRI, PET CT, fiber optic bronchoscopy, particularly for upper respiratory tract, larynx, lung, mediastinum. You can also examine the thoracic part. Nowadays, the ultrasound also gives a good amount of lung pathophysiology, radioisotope scans, VQ scans, etc. These are out of way. Basically, in a pulmonary function test, we include spirometry and peak flow rate. The another test which is very helpful is ABG study, and for diffusion, DLCO. For lung compliance test, impulse oscillometry, regional lung function test, cardiopulmonary stress test, and breath condensate test. Pulmonary function test can be done at home by peak flow rate and pulse oximetry. At clinics, you can go for both peak flow rate and pulse oximetry. And you require a special laboratories where you can do a pulmonary function test like spirometry, peak flow rate, and others. Some of the indications which gives you an idea if any person who has got a cough, sputum, exertional dyspnea, resting dyspnea, then you go for a spirometry. Now, spirometry will give you an idea regarding whether it is normal, whether there is any marginal changes in the PFT, or there is an obstructive element or a restrictive element, which can be mild, moderate, and severe. So, severity, type of involvement, whether obstructive, restrictive, or a mixed variety. And by doing an ABG, you get an idea regarding hypoxia, how severe the hypoxia it is, and what is the effect on carbon dioxide, whether there is hypercapnia or normal level. So it gives you an idea regarding acid-base balance. And chest X-ray will give you regarding the lung pathology. So these are the different tests which you can do: spirometry, ABG, and chest X-ray. We are interested in a pulmonary function test. So pulmonary function test will give you an idea regarding a restrictive disorder and an obstructive disorder. It will also help to find out exercise-induced asthma. Chronic bronchitis, it will help you to differentiate chronic bronchitis from bronchial asthma, because bronchial asthma PFT will be reversible, and exercise-induced asthma you can induce on exercise, and you can also find out the severity of involvement in restrictive and obstructive element. One of the reading can also give you small airway obstruction is there or not, early detection of that. Also, it will help you to find out the progress of the disease. So during the disease course and effect of treatment, it will be very helpful during occupational injuries and to find out the involvement of the lung. When the person is working in a industry where there is a chance of lung involvement, we call as a occupational lung disease. Also, this can be utilized pre-operative assessment also. So first importance is to detect the presence or absence of lung involvement or lung dysfunction, to differentiate whether it is obstructive, restrictive, mixed or normal. It also quantifies the severity of the disease. And once you start the treatment, you can assess the effect of the therapy, whether the person is improving or remaining same or deteriorating. It can be also utilized to find out the progress of the disease and also to find out the effect of industrial pollution on a person and even in a pre-operative. So you can divide that into diagnostic, monitoring and disability. You can do a diagnostic study to find out the obstructive, restrictive or a mixed disorder, monitoring of the disease progress or monitoring for effect of drug or monitoring for the effect of pollution in industry over the person, and you can find out the disability for a claim, etc. Find out the severity of disability also. That is impairment, monitoring is progress and diagnostic purpose. We already mentioned majority of the things. Any person who is a smoker for more than 40 years, you must go for PFT. If person has got shortness of breath, exertional dyspnea, chronic cough, screening of a risk population, particularly person who are working with industrial pollution, to find out the drug toxicity on lung. If there is any abnormality in chest X-ray, ECG, ABG, or there is an abnormal hemoglobin like polycythemia, secondary polycythemia. Some of the symptoms like dyspnea, wheezing, orthopnea, cough, sputum, that is expectoration, chest pain, signs like bronchi, overinflation, prolonged expiration, cyanosis, chest deformity, unexplained crackles, or there is an abnormality in a ABG like hypoxemia, hypercapnia. In a laboratory parameter, there is polycythemia, there is an abnormal X-ray chest, etc. You can go for PFT. This is for diagnostic purpose, and these are all other additional, whatever we have mentioned, majority of those are repetition. At your leisure time, you can go through. These are all the indications for spirometry. That is we call diagnostic purpose. These are for monitoring purpose, effect of drug, effect of toxicity of the drugs, effect of progress of the disease, effect of treatment during a disease process, etc. So that is for monitoring purpose. And this is for disability and impairment in medical side, industrial side, vocational, to assess the risk in insurance evaluation, for legal purpose, lawsuits, etc. This is very, very important. Now, what are the contraindications? Contraindications, one, if you have got hemoptysis which is of unknown origin, you have investigated, you are not sure that hemoptysis is due to what. If person has got recent pneumothorax, lower respiratory tract infection, or there is a chest infection. If person is having unstable angina, which was less than 24 hours, or recent infarcts, less than 3 month duration, thoracic aneurysm, abdominal aneurysm, cerebral aneurysm. Recently, the person has undergone cataract surgery or any major eye surgery for glaucoma, etc., where you can increase the intraocular pressure and that can produce damage to the retina, or you can produce retinal detachment. or person has got recent abdominal or thoracic surgery which is less than 3 month duration, and person can develop syncopal episode during forced expiration. These are some of the contraindications. The major contraindication is pneumothorax, any upper respiratory tract or lower respiratory tract infections. Those are the two major contraindications. And recent MI, unstable angina. You should avoid. So uncooperative person, severe dyspnea, tuberculosis, hemoptysis, pneumothorax, recent MI and unstable angina stands topmost on the list as far as contraindication to spirometry is concerned. So spirometry and peak flow rate are the main investigations which we will be talking in detail. Yes, little amount of bronchial challenge test and bronchodilator test will be dealing. Gas transfer, that is DLCO, and lung volume studies we are not going to mention in detail. This is an instrument which will demonstrate volume displacement spirometry. The days of this investigation is gone. This is flow sensitive spirometer, but this is replaced by more and more recent advanced instruments. This is portable spirometer and peak flow meter. You can utilize them. You can carry anywhere and you can do those particular tests. So these are portable spirometer and peak flow meter. You can measure those two. This is incentive spirometer, which mainly it is utilized for respiratory physiotherapy. That is mainly for respiratory exercise. If any person who has got severe respiratory disorders, so respiratory exercise can be done very easily with this, and it is very commonly being utilized. This is the instrument for volume measuring spirometer. This is a flow measuring spirometer. You will get both the charts, that is flow time charts and flow volume loops. This is the best instrument, most commonly utilized, little costly but best instrument. These are electronic desktop spirometers which can be also utilized to have both the curve, that is flow time and flow volume loop charts. These are most sophisticated instruments which are being available, different types of instruments which are being there. These are small different instruments which can be utilized depending upon the facilities available. These are all portable. This is a lung function test labs where you can perform the spirometry test and even plethysmography. This is for plethysmography for studying lung volumes. This is very commonly done in a physiology lab we call spirogram. That is, you can do the chart curve for different volumes, expiratory volume, inspiratory volume, reserve capacity, etc. Now suppose you want to start and you want to perform a pulmonary function test. How to do it and what you do before the test. First, before doing a test, we call preparation, preliminary to patient testing, that is patient preparation. Main important part is withhold the medications, particularly bronchodilator, for 4 to 6 hours prior to test. Depending upon what bronchodilator person is using, you will stop that particular bronchodilator before doing a test. Also, smoking should be stopped before 24 hours prior to the test, and even eating should be limited. Light diet should be taken, not heavy meal. This value will change depending upon the age, sex, height and race also. This should be taken into account when you are comparing with a standard. So this should be taken because it will change with the age, it will change with the height, it will change with the obesity, that is BMI, it will change with the sex also. There will be difference between male and female. A taller person will have a little different normal standards. All those should be taken into account. And we have already mentioned, when you are using a short acting beta agonist, at least you should stop for 6 hours before doing a test. Long acting 12 hours. If you are using ipratropium for 6 hours and tiotropium for 24 hours. This is a must. You should observe that. Cigarette smoking, caffeine should be avoided for at least 30 minutes before performing the spirometry. This is also very, very important. And you should consider age, height and gender when bronchodilator was used. Suppose if person is a non-smoker and he is not on a bronchodilator, then consider age, height, gender and also race. Lose the tight clothes if person is wearing. Person should empty the bladder and person should be explained regarding inspiration and expiration, how to take. And when he is sitting, he should sit straight with slight extension and in an upright sitting posture. And if there is a back support, it is the best. Now, while doing that, person is explained how to hold the mouthpiece. He should seal properly with the lips, and then he should do inspiration followed by forceful expiration as fast as possible. All those should be explained properly to have a base chart in spirometry. And watch the patient how he is performing the test. And then you should have minimum 3 readings. And out of that, get the best 2 readings. And then decide regarding which is the best. So repeat the procedure at least twice more until you get the 3 good readings. With 5% of each other are obtained within 5%. For a quality control, you should observe certain things. You should rule out poor patient technique like suboptimal inspiration, submaximal expiratory effort, delay in the forced expiration, short expiratory time. If air is leaking out at the mouthpiece, all this should be ruled out. And then you can utilize that curve for interpretation. So observe how the person is performing and do look for the standardization of a spirometry. The most common problem is incomplete blow, lack of a blast effort, slow start, lips are not sealed, person coughs in between, and there is an extra breath effort, glottis is sometimes closed, or there is an obstruction of the mouthpiece by the tongue or by teeth. Person has got poor posture, he is leaning forward so that you don't get a proper cough. Now, whenever a person is having a normal pulmonary function test and clinically you are suspecting a person is having a bronchial asthma, you can go for methacholine challenge test or a broncho-provocative test, in which you give a provocative material. Most commonly utilized is methacholine. You can use histamine, but there are certain contraindication, etc. We'll be having one slide for that. And when you give a methacholine, there will be provocation of bronchoconstriction, and it will reduce the pulmonary function test. So FEV1 will be reduced and it will change by 20%. So if there is a fall in 20% in PFT, it suggests that bronchial passage is hyperactive, which is in favor of bronchial asthma. So this is very, very useful in diagnosis of asthma where there is a normal pulmonary function test. You can utilize methacholine or histamine. By and large, histamine is avoided. And when you perform with methacholine, ideally it should be done by an expert. And if there is a fall or we call decrease in FEV1 by more than 20%, it is in favor of positive test, or we call bronchoprovocation test is positive. It suggests bronchial asthma. What are the contraindications? Recent MI, recent cerebrovascular stroke in at least 3 months. Uncontrolled hypertension, don't perform. Particularly if systolic blood pressure is more than 200, diastolic more than 100. During pregnancy and nursing mother, this should not be done. This test should be avoided. Also, if the person is on a cholinesterase inhibitor, particularly for myasthenia gravis, avoid doing this particular test. It is not recommended if initial FEV1 is less than 70% of predicted, then methacholine test should be avoided. Other agent commonly utilized is histamine, bradykinin and adenosine. By and large, the most common material utilized is methacholine. Avoid histamine and bradykinin, not commonly utilized. That is opposite of that we call is a bronchodilator response test or post bronchodilator. This is done to find out the improvement in FEV1 after bronchodilator inhalation. This is very useful whenever on an PFT you get an obstructive chart or diagnosis is obstruction. Now you want to find out whether it is reversible or not reversible, because reversible goes more in favor of bronchial asthma. Means if it reverses and if there is a positive response, means there is an improvement in FEV1 by 12% or peak flow rate improves by more than 200 ml. If improves by more than 200 ml FEV1, then it is in favor of reversible obstructive element, that is bronchial asthma. So you have to request, if there is an obstructive pattern on spirometry, you will say please do bronchodilator response test. We already mentioned. Now whenever you use a bronchodilator, say you are using salbutamol, you are giving by a volume spacer 400 microgram, you have to wait for 15 minutes and then perform the test again. If you give a terbutaline, give 500 microgram by turbohaler, wait for 15 minutes. And if you are using ipratropium, 160 microgram by spacer, and then you can perform after 45 minutes. So by and large, majority of the time salbutamol is utilized and you perform after 15 minutes of effect of that particular drug. So do look for that. So if there is an improvement for more than 15, we usually say more than increase more than by 12%, or there is an improvement of 200 ml of flow rate, then it is in favor of a reversible. So after bronchodilator, if there is an improvement for more than 12 to 15% of FEV1 or 200 ml of improvement in a flow rate volume by more than 200 ml, it will be in favor of reversible condition. Classical example, bronchial asthma. So for asthma, certain diagnostic criteria, that is repeated variability. So when you do a spirometry function test, you will have a change in FEV1 and FVC when you do at a certain intervals. You will have a positive bronchodilator test will be positive, where FEV1 or FVC will change by 12% or 200 ml from baseline. And if you do a methacholine challenge test, there will be fall in 20% in FEV1 when you give a methacholine less than 5 microgram per ml. So that these three things are routinely being done for diagnosis of asthma. And as far as objective lung function test measurement is concerned in asthma, you can utilize the forced expiratory maneuver, that is FEV1 by spirometry. You can also utilize exhaled nitric oxide test, and you can do even a peak flow rate test with bronchodilators. you can utilize that. So peak expiratory flow, you measure over the first 10 seconds. It is of a forced expiration. Normal value is 10 liters per second or 600 liter per minute. In a healthy individual, you can utilize a peak flow meters, and you can then subject them to what we call as response to bronchodilator. This is very helpful for a diagnostic purpose as well as for therapeutic purpose. So variability goes more in favor of bronchial asthma from day to day variation. Also, when you give a bronchodilator, there will be an improvement by more than 12 to 15%, and particularly in an occupational asthma also it is helpful, and also in diagnosis of exercise induced asthma. So after exercise there will be fall in FEV1 by more than 15%. That is taken into account while diagnosing exercise induced asthma. This is that peak flow meter, which is handy, can be utilized for that purpose. This is another type of a peak flow meter. You will have to blow forcibly and take the record. These are different types of peak flow meters. This is an older version which was available, and these are all the different types of a peak flow meters which are available. These are different types of peak flow meters. You can utilize whichever is available. These are all handy instruments, and they are very cheap, and you can do the test and you can help the person can keep it at home and he can maintain the chart. There is one more thing which can be done is maximum voluntary ventilation. Usually this is not commonly being done. It is also called as a maximal breathing capacity, short form MBC, or by and large the word utilized is MVV, that is maximum voluntary ventilation. It is maximum volume of air which can be respired in 1 minute. Now this particular is around 80 to 200 liter per minute in male, and in female 60 to 160 liter per minute, and it is measured by breathing deeply and rapidly for 15 seconds, and then you can measure that, but not commonly being utilized. Normal is 80% to 140%, and that is for DLCO, and this will help to find out the voluntary ventilation volumes, etc. As far as DLCO is concerned, not commonly done, but anytime you suspect an obstructive element, you want to find out the diffusion capacity or diffusion abnormality, you go for DLCO study. You require a special lab, you require a special facilities, and you ask the person to inhale carbon monoxide and then do the test. If DLCO is 81 to 140, it is normal. If it is between 60 to 80, it is mild decrease in the diffusion capacity. 41 to 60, moderate, and less than 40, it is called severe decrease in the diffusion capacity. So decrease in the diffusion capacity, classically you will see in an obstructive lung disease, and it will be normal or maybe little higher in case of bronchial asthma. Mainly it is done to differentiate these two. Very rarely it is required, not commonly being done. Most common test which we do is a spirometry, and very handy is peak flow meter, use of a peak flow meter. Now we'll be going to spirometry reading to volume time curve or flow volume curve. Mainly we utilize volume time curve, and you can also, if you are aware of it, you can utilize flow volume loops also. I'll give you a little idea regarding this, but mainly we will be concentrating on this. This is the most simple curve which gives you a very good idea regarding obstructive or restrictive or mixed variety. Now if you look here, you can see that this line is amount of volume expired. When person does a forceful expiration, it is the amount of volume of air which is coming out. This is a total lung capacity, and from there how much he is able to expire out, and this is done for 6 seconds, one blow continuously for 6 seconds. But person will be able to throw out air in first second, and that is more than 70% of this. This is called force vital capacity. The total amount of volume which is thrown out maximum in 6 seconds. Of that, more than 70% is thrown out. This can vary from 80% to 100%, but very rarely the person will have a 100%. But by and large, FEV1 is more than 80%. But less than 70% is always abnormal. But if it is 70 to 80, still it can be disease. It is normal, but still person can have a disease. We'll be talking about all those. So now, before interpreting a spirometry, you should consider BMI. So obese individual will have an effect on spirometry. So do consider that. And an obese individual will have a restrictive pattern. So higher the obesity, more chance of restrictive variety of PFT. So that should be kept into account. Now sometimes while doing an spirometry, if the person is taking less than 4 seconds and further there is no further tracing, this is called poor effort, or person has got a restrictive element, or person has got a respiratory muscle weakness. So this should be ruled out. Mainly poor effort should be ruled out, and if a person is having, person has been exhausted, that should be ruled out. If he is taking more than 6 seconds, it is more in favor of obstructive pattern, and if he completes from 4 to 6 seconds, it is considered as normal. Now there is something called as a slow vital capacity. This is by and large routinely not being done, but if it is done and if it is less than 80, then it is in favor of restrictive pattern or severe obstructive pattern or combination. So restrictive, obstructive or combined, and if it is between 80 to 120, it is normal. Because in a slow vital capacity, person is asked to breathe slowly. It is almost equal to FVC. Normally, SVC can be more than FVC, but FVC cannot be more than SVC. This is not possible. Now, how you interpret? So, you have to calculate FEV1. We are lucky that whatever now spirometers which are available, ready-made answer is already given, because on that recorded strip you have got what is the patient's, what is predicted value and what is the percentage is already mentioned, and there are a lot of other things which are mentioned. We'll show you one particular strip, and at the bottom it is always written normal, abnormal, what type of mild, moderate, severe, obstructive, restrictive, whether it is mixed, what it is mentioned, so we don't have to utilize our brain. But if you understand, you will be able to pick up. So we are going through that particular part. So we always look at the curve and we look at certain things while interpreting. One, validity. So whether this particular curve is done properly or not by a patient, is there any fault on the patient side or on the instrument side, should be looked at. Then determine the ventilatory pattern, whether it is normal, obstructive, restrictive or combined. and then we look at the FEV1, FVC and ratio to find out the severity. And if person has got obstructive element and you want to find out whether it is reversible or non-reversible, you want to differentiate between COPD and bronchial asthma, you will go for bronchodilator challenge test. And if it is normal and you are suspecting person is having bronchial asthma, you can go for exercise test, or you can go for challenge test, methacholine challenge test. This is routinely being done mainly for bronchial asthma, while first 2 and 3 is must in all. So first we'll go through what we call as a validity. So always go for acceptability criteria, whether this is acceptable or not. Look at the artifacts. Satisfactory start should be there. Satisfactory exhalation should be there. And it should be for 6 seconds. So look for all those things. I'm not going into detail. See, this is a nice curve. This is a very nice curve. So this is acceptable. Here you can see that at the top there is a little cough. Still acceptable. But this is a poor beginning. Variable effort at the early termination, and it has stopped early. So this is not acceptable. Here what has happened, you can see that this particular curve, after this there is no further, glottis is closed. This is another spirogram. You can see a flow volume loops. This is a nice curve. But here the person has cough reflex. Here the effort is not complete. Here the person has closed the glottis. These are not acceptable. Again, these two are not acceptable. This roughly you can accept and have a reading, but again this is not acceptable. Now we utilize 5 steps. First step, look at the flow volume loops, whether it is acceptable or not, and look at the upper airway obstruction pattern. So if that is seen, discard that. You cannot give and proper results. Now, if this is normal, say it is acceptable, there is no upper airway obstruction pattern. Now you look at the FEV1. FEV1 corresponds to obstructive element. In any normal person, it should be more than 80% of predicted. Look at FVC. That is more for restrictive, because it changes. Restrictive element will change the force vital capacity. So FVC will change with restrictive pattern, and FEV1 will change more with obstructive, and also it will change with restrictive. But FVC will change more with restrictive pattern, and normal limit is again 80. So FEV1 and FVC is 80%. And when you look at the ratio, by and large the ratio should be more than 70%. So FEV1 should be 70% of FVC. Almost it is between 70 to 80. It is more than 70, but it is around 80. But range is there. And if you look at good number of good spirometry reading, will also give you FEF, force expiratory flow rate, between 25 to 75%. It is normal is around 60%. And if it becomes less than 60%, even in presence of normal FEV1, normal FVC, normal ratio, if this is abnormal, it goes in favor of small airway obstruction. So force vital capacity 80% is normal. FEV1 in first second is more than 80% is considered as normal, and it is very sensitive for obstructive element. Force vital capacity is very sensitive for restrictive element, and FEF 2575 is important for what we call as small airway. So if there is a small airway obstruction, this will become less than 60%. And ratio tells you that how much amount of air is thrown out during expiration in first second. In any normal person, it should be more than 70%. So it is more useful to find out obstructive very easily. So if it is less than 70, straightforward it goes in favor of obstructive element is 100% there. And then we look for other parts. We'll be going through all those things. And peak flow rate, PEF, peak expiratory flow, measured by peak flow meter, will be useful to, we already mentioned, in case of bronchial asthma, daily monitoring, effect of bronchodilator, prognostic value, toxicity of drug in occupational lung disease, etc. And it is very handy, can be utilized at home also. It is relatively cheap. You can keep it at home and you can measure every day and see that how much is your lung function improving or deteriorating. So this is a classical, we'll show you. This is, you can see at the first second, almost 80%. So 80% is normal. Here you can see that both, in both variety, that is obstructive and restrictive, FEV1 is reduced. So you cannot differentiate. Now when you want to differentiate, you will go for the ratio. If ratio is more than 80, goes in favor of restrictive. Ratio is less than 80, goes more in favor of obstructive. We usually use, if you use a 80 as a figure, so 80 FEV1 and FVC is normal. If it is less than 80, it goes in favor of obstructive and restrictive. That is FEV1 or FVC diminished is either obstructive or restrictive. If ratio is more than 80, FEV1 to FVC, restrictive. Ratio less than 80, goes straightforward in favor of obstructive. So we will get 4 patterns, classical, normal, obstructive, restrictive, and mixed variety, where you got an obstructive as well as restrictive element. So remember, 80, 80, very simple way, you can say 80%, but by and large we say that normal is more than 70%. So now I'm on this chart only, I'll give you the idea. In normal, FEV1 is more than 80, FVC is more than 80, and ratio is more than 70 or equal to 80. Clear all the 3 reports. While in case of an obstructive, FEV1 is reduced, FVC may be close to normal, and ratio in case of obstructive will be less than 70. That is taken as obstructive. While in case of restrictive, FEV1 is reduced, less than 80, FVC is also less than 80, and ratio is more than 80, or we call normal or more than 100. That will label that as restrictive. Now we'll show you all those. So these are called dynamic lung volumes. When you look at the ratio, in a normal person it can be right from 80 to 120. If it is normal or increased, maybe in 2 conditions. Either person is absolutely normal, or it can happen normal or increase in restrictive. If it is between 70 to 80, it is usually more common in combined, that is restrictive plus obstructive. Sometime you will see also in case of a normal also. But with that, always look at FEV1 and FVC separately. While in obstructive, always the ratio is less than 70. So if any time if you see the ratio less than 70, it is pure obstructive. But if it is between 70 to 80, it can be obstructive plus restrictive. So look at FVC. If FVC is also simultaneously markedly reduced less than 80, it will be going for restrictive plus obstructive combined together. So you will have to combine all the three readings together. So when you do a reading of, when you look at FEV1 to FVC ratio, if it is less than 70, straightforward obstructive. And if FEV1 is markedly reduced, depending upon that FEV1, you go for the severity. FVC is utilized to find out combined or pseudo restriction. So if FVC is markedly reduced, go for TLCO, and if TLCO is increased, it is a pseudo restriction. If TLCO is reduced, it is combined restriction, that is restrictive plus obstructive. And if FVC is normal, then it is pure obstruction. So FVC is close to normal or slightly reduced, it is pure obstruction. So in an obstructive, you will have a ratio reduced, FEV1 reduced, and FVC is slightly reduced or normal. While in a restrictive, this ratio is more than 70. So it is normal or restrictive. If you want to differentiate now further, you look at the FVC, and if FVC is reduced markedly, it is more in favor of restrictive. And if you want to differentiate between a lung disease and normal chest wall, you have to do DLCO. And DLCO, if it is reduced, it is more in favor of lung disease. If it is normal, it is more in favor of a chest wall disease. And if FVC is normal, then if ratio is more than 70, normal FVC with normal FEV1 to FVC ratio, it is normal spirometry. This is a most simple way you can go through. If you look at the FVC alone, then FVC between 80 to 120 is normal. Less than 80, it is more in favor of restrictive or severe obstruction or combined pattern. And to find out the severity of restriction, you go for the percentage. If it is more than 80, it is normal. If it is less than 80, means between 60 to 80, mild. Between 50 to 60, moderate. And less than 50, severe. So to find out the severity of restrictive pattern, then you will utilize the severity of fall in FVC. So we always say 80, 60 and 50. So less than 80, mild. Less than 60, moderate. Less than 50, severe. And if you look at the FEV1, if FEV1 is markedly reduced, straightforward obstructive. And if it is obstructive, to find out the severity, we call 80, 60, 40. Less than 80, mild. Less than 60, moderate. Less than 40, severe. If it is slightly reduced, it will be in favor of restrictive. And if it is FEV1 is reduced and FVC also reduced, but ratio is more than 80, it will be combined. So you have to look at all the three. Now if you look at force expiratory flow between 25 to 75%, that is between this to 75%, and if this particular, that is called middle half of FVC. Now if this is normal person is 60%, more than 60%, but if this becomes less than 60%, it is abnormal, and it is more in favor of a small airway obstruction. So if my FEV1 is normal, FVC is normal, but FEF 2575 is less than 60, it will be straightforward in favor of a small airway obstruction. And this you will be able to find out in a flow volume loop charts. Flow volume loop charts, not in what we call as flow time, volume time curve. It will not be able to identify in a classical. It will be difficult. So if you still try to that, if you get a results, you can identify the severity by looking in that particular chart. So if there is between 40 to 60 mild obstruction, so we call 60, 40, 20. So less than 60 mild, less than 40 moderate, and 20 is severe obstruction. So this is the way we go for. So interpreting the results of spirometry, you will require FEV1, FEV1 to FVC ratio, and you will require FEF 2575. If all are normal, you call that as a normal PFT. If FEV1 and FVC, FEV1 ratio, FEV1 to FVC ratio are normal, but FEF is abnormal, less than 60, then it is an early obstruction or small airway obstruction. If FEV1 is less than 80 and ratio is less than 70, it is pure obstruction. It is pure obstruction. But if FVC is also reduced, you might have a restrictive element. So whenever both FEV1 and FVC is reduced, always look at the ratio. And if a ratio is less than 70, it is still more in favor of obstructive. But if the ratio is more than 70, between 70 and 80, it is mixed. It is mixed. So if you want to find out obstructive and restrictive together, you will have to look at that. So if FEV1 is less than 80, FVC is also less than 80, and ratio is more than 70, then it is restrictive. So try to look at ratio, FEV1 and FVC. So if ratio is less than 80, if answer is yes, meaning this will be more in favor of what we call as an obstructive. And to find out obstructive, you look at the FVC. So if FVC is less than 80, it will be a mixed disorder. If FVC is normal, it is straightforward in favor of obstructive element. Now if it is obstructive, give a bronchodilator. If there is a reversal and FEV1 improves more than 12% or volume improves by more than 200 liter, it is straightforward reversible obstruction in favor of bronchial asthma. If suppose the ratio is more than 80, so either it is normal or it is restrictive. So to differentiate between that two, you look at the FVC. FVC is less than 80. If answer is yes, straightforward restrictive. And if it is restrictive, you look at FEV1. And if FEV1 is also reduced, it is mixed. By and large, if there is no reversible on bronchodilator, it is in favor of a COPD. And if FVC is more than 80 and ratio is between 70 to 80 or more than 80, it will be normal. So this is combined. Now expiratory time is 6 in all, ideally, but if it is more than 6 seconds, straightforward obstructive. In restrictive, less than 4 seconds, because person cannot do a good inspiration. And in combined, it will be between 4 to, we call close to 4 seconds. If ratio is more than normal or close to normal, more in favor of restrictive. If it is between 70 to 80, it is combined. If it is less than 70, obstructive. FVC if it is normal or slightly reduced, it is more in favor of obstructive. If it is markedly reduced, more in favor of restrictive. Slightly reduced in combined. FEV1 which is markedly reduced in case of obstructive, but slightly reduced or normal in case of restrictive, and in combined slightly reduced. If you do a peak flow rate, will be markedly reduced in obstructive and it will be normal in case of restrictive, while it will be slightly reduced in case of combined. If you look at the peak expiratory flow between 25 to 75, it will be markedly reduced in a COPD, particularly irreversible variety of an obstructive, while in case of a combined, slightly reduced. In case of restrictive, may be normal or may be reduced depending upon the amount of obstructive element along with that, but by and large it is close to normal. Usually we don't go for maximum volume, but it will be reduced in both obstructive as well as combined, while in a restrictive it will be slightly reduced, and TLCO will be normal in case of an obstructive or maybe increased because of bronchial asthma, while in case of a restrictive TLCO will be reduced, and in combined also it will be slightly reduced, it will be more reduced in case of a restrictive, and particularly that TLCO study will be markedly reduced in case of we call as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Same thing explained in, again I am repeating again and again so you will understand. So you do a spirometry, it is within normal limit, test for asthma. What you do? Challenge test, because it is normal. So by giving a challenge, if there is a fall in FEV1, asthma. If there is no fall, normal. Now, suppose it is abnormal. Look at the ratio. If ratio is diminished, more in favor of obstruction. If ratio is normal or increased, it is more in favor of restriction. So if it is obstructive, now what you do is you do a bronchodilator challenge test, and if there is a bronchodilator challenge test, if FEV1 improves by more than 12%, asthma. No improvement, COPD. If you want to differentiate COPD between emphysema and bronchitis, you do a DLCO study. If DLCO is low, emphysema. If DLCO is normal, bronchitis. And if it is high, it is bronchial asthma. This becomes a very easy way of approach. While if FVC is low, it is restriction. Now you want to do identification between different diseases, you go for DLCO. If DLCO is affected, it is interstitial disease. If DLCO is normal, it is chest wall. Now you go for a pulmonary maximum, means after exercise. Person will do a exercise testing for a long period. Diaphragm will become weak, so it will become low, while in a pleural conditions it will be normal. So this will be some of the conditions you can identify by doing an additional test like DLCO test, exercise test, or we call as bronchodilator or methicholine challenge test. There are some obstructive disease, classical example COPD, bronchial asthma. These two comes topmost on the list. As far as restrictive disease is concerned, obesity, pregnancy, interstitial lung disease, kyphoscoliosis. So this will be topmost on the list. And usually in pregnancy, we avoid doing spirometry. So now this is a typical of a obstructive, where in an obstructive variety, FEV1 is reduced less than 80, FVC can be normal or slightly reduced, and ratio will be less than 0.7 or we call 70%. So that will be straightforward in favor of an obstructive element. So FEV1 will be markedly reduced, while FVC may be slightly reduced. And to find out the severity, we have said 80, 60, 40. Less than 80, mild. Less than 60, moderate. Less than 40, severe. In restrictive, FEV1 will be less than 80. FVC will be less than 80. But ratio will be more than 70%. So if ratio is more, it is more in favor of restrictive disease. So if ratio is say more than 80%, straightforward restrictive disease. But these two will be slightly reduced, but less than 80%. Both will be less than 80%. So if FVC is less than 80, it is more in favor of restriction. 80, 60 and 50. Less than 80, mild. Less than 60, moderate. Less than 50, severe. As far as restrictive element is concerned. In a mixed variety, ratio is less than 70 and both are reduced. FEV1, FVC. Then it becomes more in favor of obstructive and restrictive together. But it is good number of time. This ratio is between 70% to 80%. Always suspect can be a mixed disorders. We have already shown this particular slide before, that in asthma, when you do a spirometry, it is variable even in a day, and if you repeat at a certain intervals, you will get positive bronchodilator challenge test will be positive. You will have a reversible, and if spirometry is normal and you go for a methacholine challenge test, if there is a fall in 20% in FEV1, it is straightforward in favor of asthma. And also you can go for exercise induced asthma test. Those are commonly tests which are done for reversibility in case of bronchial asthma. So for a bronchodilator, you can use salbutamol, terbutaline or ipratropium, and you will have to do the test in salbutamol and terbutaline after 15 minutes. But if you use ipratropium, after 45 minutes. And then you look for the FEV1 reversibility. So that will be the test. If it is reversible more than 12 or 200 ml improvement in FEV1, it will be straightforward reversible. And if there is no improvement, it is not reversible. It will be more in favor of COPD. And if FEV1 and FVC is high, it is more in favor of restrictive. If it is low, more in favor of obstructive. If it is normal, maybe normal or maybe normal or little low in case of combined. So if it is normal, maybe normal or combined obstructive as well as restrictive. But if it is markedly low, it is more in favor of obstructive. Less than 70, more in favor of obstructive. Very high, say more than 80%, 100, more in favor of restrictive. And if it is close to normal, between 70 and 80, it will be more in favor of combined. So this is a simple chart we call four-square game. This is called flow volume loop. This is flow. And this gives you an idea regarding what we call as FEF 25 to 75. And that is more than 60%. And this is a volume loop charts. This is volume. And this is flow. And this is a loop chart. So look properly, you will be able to identify good. This is an inspiratory loop. This is an expiratory loop. So this is during expiration. This is during inspiration. So look at that loop properly. If this loop is normal, inspiration is normal, and during expiration, if there is any change, it gives you an idea regarding obstructive, restrictive, etc. So looking at the expiration and inspiration, this is volume FVC. and this is indirectly what we call as FEV1. FEV1, this is indirectly flow, and this is an inspiratory loop. So now we'll show you some. I'm not going into tremendous detail. This is only flow curve. This is approximately FEV1, and this gives you an idea regarding FEF 25 to 75, which is approximately 60. So if suppose you get a nice curve upward and nice straight line going down, and this is good. So this is FVC, and this is a volume curve. So this is normal. And when you get this upflow, flow is restricted, and the volume is less but not markedly reduced. That is more in favor of obstructive. While in a restrictive variety, flow is good, but this volume is markedly restricted. So by looking at the type of a chart, you can say normal, obstructive or restrictive. And then you have to look at the, see here, this is normal, this is restrictive, this is obstructive, very clear. And you look at the inspiratory loops. That inspiratory loop in restrictive will be, volume will be reduced. This volume will be reduced. This volume will be reduced but not markedly reduced in small airway obstruction. Now if there is a large airway obstruction, see both are reduced. This is also reduced. This curve is reduced, and this is also coming down. And if there is an intrathoracic large airway obstruction, then this inspiration becomes normal, close to normal, while expiratory flow curve will be reduced. But extrathoracic large airway obstruction, extrathoracic variable large airway obstruction, this is intrathoracic, where expiration will be good, inspiration will be affected. If you remember, well and good, otherwise forget. So this is a mild obstructive, this is severe obstructive, this is normal, this is, you can see that this is reduced. So this is extrathoracic, extrathoracic. Now this is normal, this is moderate obstruction. You can see a clear. If this is less, this is restrictive, and when it is intrathoracic, this will be like what we call as severe obstructive. You can see here, this is restricted, expiration is restricted. So this is an intrathoracic obstruction, and if this is close to normal, and if this is reduced, this is extrathoracic. So inspiration will be affected during extrathoracic, expiration will be more affected during intrathoracic. We utilize this FEV1 etc. for staging mild, moderate and severe and very severe, and depending upon that you decide regarding the mode of treatment. I am not going into detail. This is a chart which you go for what we call as in COPD. You decide the stages and then you go for a different treatment. I have just put this particular, so you can utilize for even finding out what treatment you will be utilizing, whether you will be using short acting, long acting or combination etc. Commonest complication of peak flow or what we call as a PFT, that is spirometry. While doing a test, person can get a light headache, some person can get a severe headache. Occasionally person can have a fainting episode, we call it vasovagal episodes, because of reduced venous return. Person can have a transient, person who is already having a urinary incontinence can have a transient urinary incontinence because of venous congestion, redness of the face. Pneumothorax very rarely if a person is already having an emphysema, and particularly if there are superficial bulla or we call blebs. If person is having aortic aneurysm or thoracic aneurysm can rupture, very odd complications. But transmission of infection is a very common, particularly tuberculosis, COVID, viral infections, etc. You should keep a watch. And it should be avoided if a person is having a recent myocardial infarction, recent strokes, unstable angina should be avoided. And recent surgery, less than 3 weeks. So I end my lecture here. I hope this will be helpful to you. So I thank you all for taking out time. I know that your time is valuable and I appreciate that you have spent some of the time with me. I feel this will be very helpful. This is a very easy way of doing a pulmonary function test. You can even utilize peak flow rate or peak flow meter for monitoring to find out the effect, to find out reversible, non-reversible after doing an exercise. It will be very helpful in an obstructive lung disease rather than restrictive lung disease. You can utilize for effect of drugs, etc. It is very handy, it is very cheap, and you can monitor a patient. So you can utilize even in your private practice, and you can prepare a chart and you can see over a period of time whether person is improving, deteriorating, what is happening, and person himself can do a monitoring at home also. So again, I thank you all for taking out time. If you feel that this lecture is helpful to you, please press button like. You can give your suggestions, comments, etc. You can subscribe if you are not subscribed, and you can even press a bell icon so you can get a second notifications. If you feel that this lecture is helpful, you can share with your friends also. Your friend may be benefited. So again, I thank you all for taking out time. See you in next lecture.